Game that supposedly unlocks this hidden world that you're not supposed to see. Someone had asked in a comment recently if I had ever gotten any stories about red door, yellow door, and I did. But before I get to that story, I feel like I need to tell you the rules of the game because it's important. The game starts in a quiet, dimly lit room with at least two people, the subject and the guide. The subject lies on the floor with their head in the guide's lap, and the guide rests their hands gently on the subject's temples and leans slightly over them. If there's anyone else in the room, they all sit in a circle and watch, and then everybody chants together red door, yellow door, any other color door. Subject then closes their eyes and imagines a hallway full of doors. Then the guide starts asking questions. What do you see? What color are the doors? Which doors are you opening? And every choice has meaning. Yellow doors generally lead to positive or neutral experiences. Red doors are associated with evil, and black doors you should never enter because you'll get stuck. Those rooms are impossible to escape. And there's other rules too. Don't look in mirrors, don't walk downstairs, avoid clocks, don't speak to figures or people. They're not really figures or people. As this game goes on, there are signs the guide needs to know in case they need to end the game abruptly, in case the subject says that someone's following them. The guide should wake them up. If they stop responding to the guide's questions, the guide should wake them up. And if they see a man in a black suit, the guide absolutely needs to wake them up. Now that you know the ground rules of red door, yellow door, let's get to Ariana's Spooky Scary Storytime submission. If you're new here, Spooky Scary Storytime is my series where I share listeners' allegedly true, scariest stories, the ones I think nobody else would believe. Said, I know this sounds crazy. I know many people aren't going to believe me, especially if they've never played or heard of the game, but I swear this really happened. In 2022, Ariana and her two best friends heard about the Red Door, Yellow Door game on TikTok, and they decided to play one night while having a sleepover. One of her best friends decided she was going to be the subject first, and her other best friend decided to be the guide. So she goes into this trance-like state. The guide is asking her questions, and she starts describing doors. And that surprised both Ariana and the guide, and they got excited. She starts describing these doors, and all of a sudden, before she could enter one, she said, I see a man in a black suit, and that freaked them out. So they decided they were going to try to wake her up. They remembered from the rules that if you saw a man in a suit, especially with no face, you were supposed to wake the subject up immediately. And so they did, and she came to, and she was a little unsettled. Then they decided to re-look at the rules just in case they missed anything and became a little bit familiar with the game. Then Ariana's friend, who had previously been the guide, decided she was going to be the subject. She became the subject, entered a yellow door, and had a positive experience before she came out of it. Then the first friend that Ariana said was the subject decided she wanted to try again, and so she goes back into the trance. And she starts describing the same hallway of doors that she saw the first time. She enters one door and saw the tall man in the black suit with no face sitting at a long wooden table. She immediately left the room and entered another room, but that room was filled with clocks. She knew clocks were a bad sign too, so they told her to get out. She leaves, she goes back in the hallway, and she enters a third room, which was filled with nothing but bright white light. They weren't sure if the bright white light was good or bad, but they thought they didn't know about it, and so it was best to just wake her out of it. But they had a hard time getting her out of this trance-like state. She said she couldn't get out, and she was locked in. It took some struggle, but eventually she came to, and it was around 2 a.m., but they were all a little unsettled by the whole experience, and so they walked outside for a little while just to shake it off. 2 nights later, the three girls had all but forgotten about the game, and they were having another sleepover at Ariana's dad's house. They were all just sitting around. She said they were just kind of scrolling on their phones, and they noticed the one friend who had seen the hallway of doors and had seen man was all of a sudden sitting there with her eyes closed, her hands clenched shut, and her phone face down. They said, "What are you doing?" Without opening her eyes, she said, "That man is here." Her eyes were still closed, but she was describing sitting at the end of the wooden table that she had described when she was playing that game. She said, "He's looking at me," and all of a sudden she started gasping for air, and so Ariana and her other friend grabbed her. They were pulling her eyelids back, trying to wake her up. They were shaking her. Eventually, they both picked her up, and she woke up crying. After that night, Ariana said things just got stranger, and she found her friend slipping back into that state more and more often. She said it felt like something had attached itself to her, but anytime they would ask her in her waking state, she would just say, "I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember that." By the end of 2024, they asked her again, and finally she said, "Yeah, I remember." She says she's since put more distance between their friendship, but she hasn't asked if she still is visited by that man. There's so much more that happened this summer and with my friend, but I wanted to focus on the parts that still gives me chills. But I wanted to put this out as a warning to anyone considering playing Red Door, Yellow Door. If you're thinking about it, don't. Remember what happened to my friend. She said this is 100% not just a game. If you have played this game, let me know your experience. I have not. I'm too much of a chicken. If there's any other internet lore, creepy games that I should explore or look for stories on, let me know those too.